On Friends, Rachel Green's life was so aspirational in many ways. But would it be totally impossible to have now? From the giant apartment she splits with Monica, to her rocketing career trajectory, to the fashion and lifestyle she's able to have in one of the most expensive cities in the country, it's definitely interesting to imagine how things might be quite different for Rachel today, and how watching her story might have set us up with some unrealistic expectations. So let's take a look at 4 key areas of Rachel's life to see if she still would have been able to make things work now.
Oh, wish me luck. What for? I'm gonna go get one of those job things.
Unlike the first character we explored in this series, Carrie Bradshaw, Rachel Green comes from money. And this shapes so much of her life, her character, and her growth. Her family is wealthy, materialistic, and image-obsessed.
Well, actually, I'm not gonna use a nanny, and I don't even have a housekeeper. It's like you're a cave person.
They don't engage with their deeper selves, or even really recognize the interior lives of others. Rachel and her sisters were raised to put money above all else, and to believe that catching a rich guy and getting him to then continue to fund their lives should be their only goal.
I said, I'm gonna hire a lawyer, and I'm gonna sue you and take all your money, and then I'm gonna cut you off.
Wow, what did he say?
He said he wouldn't pay for my lawyer.
Deep down, however, Rachel always knew that that kind of empty life wasn't all that she wanted for herself, even if she wasn't quite yet sure what she did want. This questioning is what leads her to flee from this life right as she's almost made the biggest step in securing it. She runs away from her marriage to Barry and all of the financial security that would have come with it. But in return, she gets the opportunity to become her own person. And over time, we can see how she diverges from her sisters who did go down that path.
I'm sorry, Rachel.
Oh, come on. You really think that's gonna work on me? I invented that.
That being said, she was never able to completely escape that spoiled attitude that she was brought up with. Even without the safety net of her parents' money, Rachel was still able to live an enviable, aspirational life in New York City then. But is the kind of life Rachel had even possible nowadays? One of the most enviable parts of Rachel's story is her career trajectory. She goes from her first ever job as a waitress at 25 to being an executive at one of the biggest fashion brands in the world only 10 years later. She starts out as a waitress at Central Park after realizing she's going to need to make some money of her own now that she's separated herself from her parents' funding.
Everyone I know is either getting married or getting pregnant or getting promoted, and I'm getting coffee. And it's not even for me.
This helps make Rachel more relatable as a character, as she's brought down to earth and forced to leave her spoiled rich girl life behind.
Who's FICA? Why is he getting all my money?
Like everyone else on the show, Rachel spends a lot of time not working, which the show itself even jokes about.
That's weird. I don't think my boss likes me either.
I don't think mine likes me either.
Maybe it's a universal thing.
Yeah, or maybe it's because you're all hanging around here at 11:30 on a Wednesday.
And was also a larger topic of conversation for people in that age range at the time who felt that their jobs where they got paid to do not much were just too boring. In comparison, now we're all overworked, expected to do multiple people's jobs for less than one person's pay. And the change in pay between then and now is also significant. The minimum wage for New York City workers who earn tips, like waitresses, was only $2.15 an hour plus tips. But even though the minimum wage in New York City has increased, purchasing power has actually gone down. Prices are an estimated 118% higher now than they were in 1994. So it takes around $43 today to equate to the purchasing power of $20 then.
I earned this. I wiped tables for it. I steamed milk for it, and it was totally not worth it.
But in season 3, Rachel's career begins to take off. First, she becomes a personal assistant at a fashion brand, before landing a job as an assistant buyer at Bloomingdale's thanks to Mark's help. Though eventually her department is closed and she's demoted to being just a personal shopper for wealthy clients, though she makes the most of that too.
My work, it's for me, you know? I'm out there on my own and I'm doing it. And it's scary, but I love it because it's mine.
Before long, she's moving even further up the ladder at breakneck speed. After a series of nearly disastrous interviews, she lands a job at Ralph Lauren, eventually becoming the women's wear coordinator. By the end of the show, she's fielding offers from Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Getting a job via basic networking and then working your way up the corporate ladder was pretty normal back in the 90s, though getting as lucky as Rachel did was still rather rare, but hey, it's TV. It can be much more difficult now, however, as the job market continues to slow, and many feel forced to take whatever job they can just to keep their bills paid. The fashion industry is particularly difficult to get into, even for people who specifically went to school for fashion-related degrees. In their piece for Vogue, Bella Webb and Malia Shoaib wrote, "The larger fashion brands keep strong relationships with top fashion schools, sponsoring projects and scholarships and using graduate shows to scout talent. Survey respondents note that this leaves little room for people outside the conventional pipeline and reinforces systemic biases in recruitment processes higher up." But it wasn't just Rachel's job that was aspirational. It was her entire lifestyle. Rachel Green is one of the enduring TV-style icons of the 90s thanks to her simple yet always stylish wardrobe. In the beginning, her looks and clothes are pretty much all she cares about. She's materialistic to the point that she essentially frames her entire sense of self around her things.
Like all of my life, everyone has always told me, you're a shoe. What if I don't want to be a shoe? What if I want to be a purse? You know, or a hat?
She gave up her parents' money, but was somehow still able to continue to afford designer clothes, even on her waitress salary. To some degree, this is, of course, just a part of how TV costuming works. They use trendy items that people might recognize and buy, but they're meant to be seen as just regular clothes. But for Rachel, the fashion and designer aspect is deliberate. Her love of fashion is a major part of her character. Much of her wardrobe would have been a stretch to afford then and nigh on impossible now. Though maybe she could get lucky thrifting, her and Monica's apartment is right around the corner from a housing works. Even something like her iconic The Rachel haircut would cost significantly more now. Of course, one of the major factors that made Rachel's first steps out on her own so relatively easy was the fact that she got to split that giant rent-controlled apartment with Monica for only a couple $100 a month.
It was a happy place, filled with love and laughter. But more important, because of rent control, it was a friggin' steal.
Even then, at market rate, that apartment probably would have run them well over $1,000 a month, and now it would be several thousand. According to the New York City Guidelines Board, 43.1% of tenants in New York City were considered rent-burdened, meaning they had to spend over 30% of their income on just rent alone, and 17% of renter households experienced food insecurity. Nowadays, Rachel would likely have to work multiple tipped jobs just to make ends meet. Though, of course, Rachel never really 100% gave up help from her parents.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna be strong.
I think I may be able to book the Plaza on short notice.
One thing about Rachel's New York City life that does surprisingly remain relatable through the course of the show is her continuing to live with roommates well into adulthood. Living beyond your means certainly isn't something that's specific to Rachel or TV magic as a whole, but things can add up much more quickly now. Chief economist at Moody's, Mark Zandi, explained to CNBC that for many people now, even though they have a job in most cases, their purchasing power is no longer rising. Many are borrowing money to supplement their income, and now they're paying interest on that debt. They owe a lot of money, but they own very little. Obviously, having Rachel or any of the other characters constantly worrying about how they're going to make ends meet would have changed the lighthearted tone of the show, so it's not surprising that they didn't go in that direction for a 90s sitcom. It's just important for us all to keep in mind as viewers so that we don't start comparing our lives too closely and get down on ourselves for not keeping up. And that brings us to the final major factor of Rachel's life: her friends. The friends are, as the title would suggest, the most important part of the show.
You guys really took care of me.
Yeah, Monica made us.
Oh, whatever. I really appreciate it, because I don't think I would be the person that I am today if it wasn't for you guys.
They're the ones who push Rachel to see herself as something more than just daddy's little girl and to learn to stand on her own 2 feet.
Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it.
They also help provide her a safe place to try out new things and know that she won't be alone if she fails, which is incredibly important when you're trying to figure out your life. As we talked about more in depth in our video on how money woes are killing adult friendships, one of the most enviable parts of the friends group's lives is just the fact that they have so much free time and money to hang out and deepen their friendships and go on adventures. Rachel's romantic life is also a major focus for her character for the entirety of the show. But she wasn't forced to give up her interest in her career. Well, until the end at least.
I got off the plane.
We talk about that more in this video if you want to check that out next. She doesn't get stuck in the let the man pay for everything trap that's come back in vogue now, but in fact specifically runs away from it so that she can build her own life on her own terms.
Mom, I realize you and Daddy were upset when I didn't marry Barry and get the big house in the suburbs with all the security and everything, but God, this is just so much better for me, you know?
In the alternate timeline episodes, we see a different version of Rachel's life. One where she didn't go off on her own and make real friends or work to grow as a person, but instead continue to focus only on material things, and it's clear how empty and hollow that life is. It's a great contrast to the Rachel we did get, and shows us how much she truly has grown as a person and a friend by the end of the show. But it also all highlights how either way, Rachel was operating with a level of financial security that eludes most of us nowadays. Rachel's life wasn't super realistic because, above all else, she's a TV character, not a real person. She was an idealized version of a trope, the spoiled rich girl who grows to be a better person.
He told me to come here and learn about the value of money from the one daughter he's actually proud of. Did you hear that?
And it was positive to watch her character growth over the seasons as she became more confident in herself as an independent person.
I feel that if I can do this, you know, if I can actually do my own laundry, there isn't anything I can't do.
And those are the lessons we should take from her story, not comparing our careers or wardrobes to hers. Make sure to check out our first video in this series unpacking the financial worlds of some of our favorite characters, where we took a deep dive into why even Carrie Bradshaw probably wouldn't be able to live like Carrie Bradshaw now. And in the comments, don't forget to let us know which character you'd like to see us cover next in this series. That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.